Money can fail in two ways. One is visible. Currency collapses. Prices explode. A wheelbarrow of cash buys bread. The other is invisible. You have more money than you need. And it stops making life better. Both reveal the same truth. Money is not what we think it is. Money makes three promises: store of value, unit of account, medium of exchange. These are the economic promises. But there is a fourth promise, the psychological one. Money promises security, freedom, happiness, control, and for a while, it delivers. Research shows emotional well-being rises with income up to around $75,000 to $90,000 annually. Below that threshold, money solves real problems: rent, food, healthcare, stability. At this level, money works exactly as advertised. More money genuinely means better life. But something changes as you move further up the income scale. And something catastrophic happens when the currency itself breaks down. Two different failures. Same underlying fragility. In Weimar, Germany, 1923, the mark collapsed from 4.2 per US dollar to 4.2 trillion. Workers were paid multiple times per day. By the time they finished their shift, their morning wages bought nothing. Banknotes were used as wallpaper, as fuel for stoves. Money stopped performing its most basic function, holding value between the moment you earn it and the moment you spend it. Zimbabwe in the late 2000s saw annual inflation reach 89 sextillion%. People carried bags of cash to buy bread. Prices changed between entering the store and reaching the checkout. Venezuela more recently experienced million% inflation. The bolivar became worthless. Citizens switched to US dollars for transactions. The national currency simply stopped being money. In all three cases, the pattern was identical. Massive government spending, usually war reparations or populist programs, financed by printing money rather than taxation or legitimate borrowing. At first, people trust the currency. Prices rise, but slowly. Then a threshold is crossed. People realize the government will not stop printing. Trust evaporates. Everyone rushes to spend or convert currency immediately. This accelerates the money's velocity through the economy, which pushes inflation higher, which destroys trust further. It becomes a death spiral, and the currency stops functioning. When money stops working at this level, daily life becomes impossible to plan. Contracts are meaningless. Savings are destroyed overnight. Supply chains collapse. People revert to barter, trade goods for goods, or switch entirely to foreign currency or gold. This is the macro failure of money. Visible, dramatic, undeniable. But there is another failure. Quieter, more insidious. And it happens even when currency is perfectly stable. At high income levels, money stops improving life. Sometimes it makes life worse. This is not about currency collapse. This is about psychological collapse. The pattern is well documented. Income and happiness correlate strongly up to around $90,000 annually in the US. After that, the curve flattens. More money continues to increase some measures of life evaluation. People report feeling more successful, but emotional well-being, day-to-day happiness, plateaus or even declines. Why? Hedonic adaptation. Humans adjust to new baselines within months. The luxury apartment that felt amazing becomes normal. You stop noticing the marble countertops, the high ceilings, the view. What felt like abundance becomes baseline. What was baseline becomes inadequate. This is the hedonic treadmill. You upgrade, adapt, upgrade again, adapt again. The finish line never arrives. But it is worse than just adaptation. At high income levels, three new problems emerge. 1. Time and autonomy collapse. High earners often work longer hours under more pressure. The money promised freedom. It delivered golden handcuffs. Fixed costs, mortgage, tuition, lifestyle, lock you into jobs you may hate. 2. Social trust erodes. Wealthy individuals report more suspicion about others' motives. Friendships feel transactional. Romantic relationships carry doubt. Even family dynamics shift when money dominates. Research shows that as income rises, trust in others declines. This is not paranoia. It is pattern recognition. The wealthier you are, the more people do treat you as a resource. 3. Identity fuses with income. Self-worth becomes tied to earnings or net worth. Any threat to financial status feels like a threat to self. This creates fragile self-esteem despite material abundance. At extreme wealth levels, billionaires, money stops being about comfort entirely. It becomes about power, legacy, and rank. No one needs $1 billion to live well. But billionaires are not competing for lifestyle. They are competing for status, for being remembered. And status is relative. There is always someone richer, someone more influential, someone with a bigger company or more ambitious project. So the pursuit continues, long after money stopped improving material life. This is the micro-failure of money, less visible than hyperinflation, but equally real. These two failures, currency collapse and psychological diminishing returns, seem unrelated. One is macroeconomic catastrophe. The other is personal psychological experience. But they share a structural similarity. Both involve a breakdown of trust. In hyperinflation, people stop trusting that money will hold value tomorrow. So they flee to foreign currency, gold, or goods. In psychological diminishing returns, people stop trusting that more money will deliver more happiness. But unlike hyperinflation, they often keep chasing it anyway. Both involve acceleration and adaptation. In currency collapse, prices accelerate faster than people can adjust. In lifestyle inflation, expectations accelerate faster than income can satisfy them. Both create traps. Hyperinflation locks people into daily survival mode, spend immediately or lose everything. Psychological wealth traps lock people into golden handcuffs, maintain status or face identity collapse. And both reveal that money is not inherently valuable. It is a shared agreement, a collective belief. When that belief breaks, either because the currency is being destroyed by printing presses, or because the psychological promise of more money equals better life stops delivering, money stops working. It does not matter if your bank account has zeros or your pockets have wheelbarrows of cash. In both cases, money fails to do what you need it to do. In hyperinflation, the response is rapid and rational. Convert to stable currency, usually US dollars. Hold hard assets, gold, real estate, durable goods. Shorten the time you hold money. Get paid, spend, or convert immediately. Rely on barter and informal networks when official currency is useless. Eventually, governments stabilize by introducing a new currency, restricting printing, and sometimes pegging to or adopting a foreign currency entirely. Trust has to be rebuilt from scratch. And it takes years. But what do people do when money fails psychologically? Most do nothing. They keep chasing. Because the failure is invisible. Society still reinforces the belief that more money equals better life. Promotions are celebrated. Raises are pursued. Net worth is tracked. The treadmill keeps running even after it stopped delivering. Some recognize the pattern and make adjustments. They shift focus from extrinsic goals, wealth, status, image, to intrinsic goals, relationships, growth, contribution, health. Research consistently shows that people who prioritize intrinsic goals report higher life satisfaction than those who prioritize extrinsic ones, even when the latter achieve their targets. They escape lifestyle inflation by refusing the upgrade cycle. They realize that a nicer car does not deliver the promised satisfaction. So they stop upgrading. They redefine success, not as income or net worth, but as autonomy, time, relationships, and purpose. This is harder than it sounds, because it requires rejecting deeply embedded social scripts about what success looks like. But the alternative is remaining on a treadmill that stopped working years ago. At the extreme end, money becomes a scoreboard. Billionaires are not competing for comfort. They are competing for rank. Elon Musk does not need more money. He needs to beat Jeff Bezos to Mars. They are playing a game where enough does not exist. Because the game is positional. Your rank only matters relative to others. Research on ultra-high net worth individuals shows that many feel financially insecure, not because they lack resources, but because there is always someone with more. This is the final form of money's failure. It stops improving life. It stops buying happiness. It stops even buying security. All that remains is competition. And competition without end is indistinguishable from suffering. Most people will never experience hyperinflation. Most will never be billionaires. But everyone experiences the psychological diminishing returns of money. The mechanic is the same at every level. You believe the next milestone will bring satisfaction, the next raise, the next promotion, the nicer home. And it does. Briefly. Then adaptation kicks in. And you are back where you started emotionally, just with higher fixed costs. This is not about rejecting money. Money solves real problems. But recognizing when you have crossed the threshold where more money stops solving problems and starts creating new ones is critical. For most people in developed economies, that threshold is far lower than they think. Research suggests somewhere between $75,000 and $100,000 annually for emotional well-being. Above that, additional income provides marginal gains at best. Yet people chase far beyond this point. Not because it improves life, but because society conditions them to. The treadmill keeps running. Until you step off. Money can fail in two ways. Catastrophically, when currency loses all value and daily life becomes impossible. Or quietly, when wealth accumulates but satisfaction does not. Both failures share the same lesson. Money is not inherently valuable. It is a tool, a means, not an end. When it stops serving its function, whether that function is storing value or improving well-being, it stops working. The question is not whether you will experience hyperinflation. The question is, have you already crossed the threshold where more money stopped making your life better? And if you have, what are you doing about it? Subscribe to Power Protocol. We cover what matters.